listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? BT Unleashed with you here on this Wednesday. Hopefully everybody's doing well. J-Rod is in the house. We got a lot to get to. We've got 3 burning questions. We've got there's really not much to talk about the Mets these days, but some interesting stuff going on in the broadcast booth. And these lack of fundamentals. It's basically where it was, when we were sitting here having the conversation, when is Mendoza going to get fired? So we do. And also, I'm going to get back, Jay. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. We got a super chat on the Jaxson Dart and Abdul Carter stuff. So we're going to get into that. And this is a national thing that I'm going to get to out of the shoot here with Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback from Texas Tech. Really fascinating, all the different components that go into this and the teams that I think, whether or not the Jets are on that list, we'll find out in a minute, should take a swing at this very, very complicated situation. And good player. We'll get to that really in a moment. All right, let's start the show. Today's show is always brought to you by Sullivan, Papain, J-Rod. Of course, Sullivan, you can find him online at triallaw1.com. That's triallaw1.com. Remember the name Sullivan, Papain, and by Premio Sausage. No sausage, the way sausage should be. Find them at premiofoods.com or in your local grocery store. Now, literally 2 minutes before I was coming on, so I didn't have time to cook up a graphic, nor did J-Rod. Alan Hahn, you guys know Alan, of course, from the Knicks and the great coverage. He's on Get Up. He's become a star, really, in a lot of ways. And Alan's going to come on the show on Friday at 10:30. So, at that point, we'll know who the Knicks are playing in the championship, in the NBA Finals. I don't know what was going on with Wemby last night. Thunder punch back. A lot of flopping again. What else is new from SGA? But, listen, I should say we'll know. We might not know, actually. If the Spurs win Game 6, then we won't know. Either way, Allen's coming up on Friday at 10:30. And, I remember, so for you old G's out there that have really been entrenched in the Knicks coverage for a long time, Allen used to do this thing. Allen started as a beat writer. He covered hockey for Newsday, primarily the Islanders. I'm not sure if he was ever on the Rangers beat. I think it was just the Isles. But a huge basketball guy. Was a good player. Was a good basketball player as well out on Long Island. And I remember reading his stuff quite a bit. And he had this thing called the Knicks Fix. And the content was really good. And I would see him all the time at the Garden, him covering the team, me doing the stuff for the Knicks as well. And we became really good friends. And I started having him on my show a lot when I was at 1050. This is like 2005, maybe even 04, definitely into 06. And I always joke around. I'm like, dude, who got you start? Listen, I'm pretty sure he would have been discovered if it wasn't for me. I'm obviously kidding because he's got great presence, great information, good delivery, and really just a good dude. But we go back a long ways. So you know how we do the conference. They're not interviews. We'll obviously get into the Knicks, of course. But it's going to be a good conversation with a guy who's done a lot, a guy who has seen a lot. So that's coming up on Friday. All right. So, J-Rod and I were shooting the breeze a little bit down the stream here before we came on. And I said, and by the way, I even had to do a little bit of research. Like, I'm not calling J-Rod out. The supplemental draft in the NFL is one of those things that you throw out there, but do you really know much about it? Maybe you've done a little bit more research now because of Brendan Sorsby, who we're going to get into, obviously, is the main topic here. I really never pretended to know a whole lot about that. I remember the Jets took Rob Moore out of Syracuse, who was really good. I'm like, all right, supplemental. I don't, really know what that is, but he's a good player. And the Giants wound up taking Dave Brown and others, by the way, over the years. And it's almost like masked in this cloak of anonymity. Like, it's there, it's a potential option for certain players with unique circumstances, but I don't really know that everybody knows what this is. So we cooked up a little graphic for you. J-Rod, pop that up there. So it's a little small. Your boys got to put on the glasses here. So if you guys want to take a screenshot of that, it's the easiest way to understand what it is, who's eligible, how it's going to work. There's 3 tiers to the draft order. What's the penalty and what are the outcomes there? You can keep that up there for a sec. So we've got a situation, Jay, with a player, again, Brendan Sorsby, who is a very talented player and is going to present a very unique possibility for a lot of teams here in the NFL if you need a quarterback. Now, his road is littered with a lot of good film and a lot of issues. So he was pinched for gambling. He started his career at Indiana, and then he played a little bit 1 year, and then he went to Cincinnati, played very well, and then he was going to play for Texas Tech this year. He was ruled ineligible. It was discovered that he was betting when he was at Indiana. He was betting on the Hoosiers now to win. All right, that to me that is actually important. Like if you're betting on the team that you're on to lose, I mean, which is why the Pete Rose situation is a little bit unique there, but. It's that to me is almost untenable. That speaks to such a lack of character. Whether you're actually shaving points or you're a backup, either way, you have information, and you're working under the concept of being a team player. The meetings, the practices, and then all of a sudden you're putting literally money down for your team to lose. So that is different from what he did at Indiana. I'm not exonerating him. It's very clearly stated by the NCAA. If you gamble, you are going to be ruled, and you're discovered to have gambled, you're going to be ruled ineligible. Now, the thing about Sorsby, and he appealed it, it was rejected. He filed an injunction. Now, I know that the president for Texas Tech, they gave him a ton of NIL. He's out there talking about, they're going to move mountains to change this and make sure that, try to get it reversed, whatever. I don't know what's going to happen, but just the way the supplemental draft, you can get me back on camera, Jay, the way it goes, right? Now, this was born in 1977, been around a long time. And I mentioned a couple of local players. Chris Carter out of Ohio State was actually the best supplemental player ever. He had issues at Ohio State. And then he was the Eagles drafted him. I think they used a first round pick on him. So basically, you've got to reconcile a couple of things here, right? And pertaining to the quarterback, the thought process of finding a quarterback, and there's a couple of different tiers here. There's the tiers that, of teams that just obviously need a quarterback. The Jets, the Browns, lesser extent, the Dolphins, they signed somebody, obviously. The Steelers, the Colts, with the injury. Obviously, I mean, he's not going to, I don't think Daniel Jones will be there forever. The Vikings, like those are teams that, at least on the most cursory level, should be having a level of interest in exploring what this young man's all about, and all the potential pitfalls and character flaws that come with somebody who willingly bet on his team when you know the rules. Now, there's also some other teams out there, and maybe this is the easier route, where you've got a good team, you've got a very stable quarterback situation, but you might be willing to take a flyer. And I think you look at teams like Kansas City, even though Pat's coming off the injury. Green Bay, Dallas, Dak is getting older, but he's still good. Cincy with Burrow, Buffalo with Josh Allen. I've looked at this a lot of ways, and we've talked about this on the Jets Collective, myself, Rich, and meeting Jake Asman. And the more I think about this, I think it's really foolish for some of these teams, really in the first category, not to take a swing on Sorsby. Get this up. First of all, he is big, he is strong, and he is fast, and he's productive. It's not like he's played 7 games and there's a guessing game. This guy's 6'3", 235, ran a very good 40, so the speed-strength ratio is good. 60 touchdowns, 18 picks. All right, 61.4% completion percentage isn't great in college, obviously. 7,000, you can read the numbers. I don't need to really just keep spitting them out there at you. But the way this is going to go, there's not even, Jay, how about this? There's not even a defined period where we know when the supplemental, it's not like there's an exact day. Like there's a lot of things that have to happen. It's probably, at least based on the intel that I've gotten, the best, target would be early to mid-July. It was born in 77, as I said, 8 times since 1977. First-round picks were used on this. Bernie Kosar out of Miami, Rob Moore I mentioned, and obviously Chris Carter. So basically what you really need to know, it's a blind bid, all right? It's a blind bid. So if you think that he's phenomenal and you've got, and this does pertain to the Jets probably more than some of those other teams because they've got the 3 first-round picks next year. Now, I wouldn't do that. That to me is incredibly cavalier. I'm not burning a first-round pick on Sorsby. Second round, that's a little bit more debatable. But I think for a third rounder, you do it. And for a fourth rounder, you absolutely do it. Now, Jay, let's say the Jets and the Steelers were were both to put in a second round blind bid because the Jets second round pick would be higher. Okay.
Okay.
They were worse than the Steelers. They would actually get him. And then when you get him, basically simple stuff, you just lose your second round pick the next year. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Checks out.
So it seems like this. It seems incredibly convoluted. It's really actually not. The only thing that you don't know is you don't know what the other teams are doing. So there's obviously a risk reward. Like if you really like a player, you could go first round pick. Now if you go first round, you're going to get him. So I would not advise that. I think that's a little bit too cavalier. You start going second round, third round. There's a lot more things to process. And then if you get him, whomever gets him, whatever draft pick attached to the blind bid, you would just basically, in essence, he would be your second or third round pick for the 2027 draft. Now, here's the thing. For those of you, I think there's two things at play. Really three. Number one, is the talent worth it? I believe that it is. Check. Number two, are you able organizationally to reconcile within, whether it's the and just a quick aside, one of the things that's tricky about the supplemental, it's not this long drawn out process where there's pro days and there's each team gets 30, in on-site meetings with whomever they want, where you could really get the intel and do a deep dive. It really is just, all right, this kid, whomever it might be, Sorsby in this case, has had some issues. The film matches up with our talent evaluation. We have X, Y, and Z in the coffers in terms of draft capital. We need positions X, Y, and Z moving forward. So there's a calculus here. And to me, all the conversations, this is why I simplify it to this. And this is why I would like to see the Jets do it. This is why some of the other teams like the Browns, I don't really know how they feel about Sanders, and I know they've got some other quarterbacks on the depth chart. Nobody that I really think is going to be the guy. But the reason you do this, if you think, Jay, about, and I don't mean if you're a good team, if you're a good team during the regular season, you're talking about Super Bowl aspirations, like you're enjoying the ride and you're having a fun season. The teams that are bad generally are bad because they don't have good quarterback play, or their quarterback got hurt, or in the case of somebody like Joe Burrow, you've got a great quarterback, you put a ton of points on the board, you can't stop anybody. Now, if that's the case, obviously you don't want to, number one, you don't need him unless you're going to trade Joe at some point, but you've got to devote those resources, which are precious, to build up the defense, to get the defense to match the offense that Burrow brings to the table. But in general terms, for the bad teams, we start right away going into we're optimistic, we're hopeful, whatever, but then reality quickly sets in for the bad teams, right? And then you start to say, okay, you start looking at the mock drafts and what quarterbacks are viewed to be, top 10, top 15, or just first round worthy. And then you start to you have those conversations with your friends. Some people root for losses to improve the odds of moving up, to have access to a player that you think could change your fortunes in the NFL in terms of a young college quarterback. And most of the conversations around bad teams and their fan bases are, we got to find a quarterback, we got to get a new coach, right? Really think about it. When you're mired in, you have one or two wins and it's way past, certainly way past Halloween, and now it's bleeding into Thanksgiving, well, there's really nothing else to gravitate to except hope and the prospects for a better tomorrow. And in the NFL, a better tomorrow almost always comes when you get the right quarterback, and then obviously downstream insulate him properly with coaching, stable coaching, a good offensive line, good weapons, blah, blah, blah. I think that it would be reckless not to do this in the case of the Jets and the Browns and maybe even the Vikings. The Raiders don't have to do it. They've got their guy. So I'm all for taking a swing here, and it's obviously not going to be a first-round pick. And, here's the thing. I'm a believer in this, right? That's why, when they took Kate Klubnik from Clemson in the draft, I'm like, okay. Now, I'm not as overly enthusiastic about his potential prospects as some. I'm intrigued by him. He was hurt last year. He's played a lot of games in college. He's mature. He exudes leadership quality. So I'm like, okay, it's worth it. It's worth the gamble here. But if you don't have a quarterback, and while I think Geno will play, fine this year and will be much better than they've had the last couple of years, you just got to you got to keep taking swings. And the more swings that you take, the more the odds stack up in your favor of eventually finding a quarterback. And to me, if I'm specifically the Jets, if I'm the Jets and I've got Gino, who should play well, and Klubnik, who's interesting, and now I could bring somebody like Sorsby in, I've got a year of intel to get some internal answers, which is going to give me real clarity for next year, which is the year we've all pointed to once they made the trade with Sauce and obviously Q and got the extra first-round picks as the year that could probably change, hopefully, the fortune, like real fortunes, not becoming competitive, but becoming an eventual champion of the Jets. Now, think about this. If you keep stacking talented, interesting, young prospects and one of them hits, well, now all those other first-round picks that you have, you can trade somebody. You could just continue to build up the talent. Like there's so many possibilities, but it is a risk. If you're too aggressive and the blind bid is just over the top, irresponsible, nobody's going to match you there. You've got to be prepared to do that. Listen, at the end of the day, we're in the content business, but at some point you got to make a prediction. Now I can't predict what's going to happen in court. I can't predict how aggressive Texas Tech is going to be and how well I could predict they're going to be very aggressive. I can't predict how successful they're going to be in their pursuit of flipping the ruling, right? You're talking about injunctions and courts and appeals and NCAA litigation. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen with that. But I do know, or I do strongly believe, that there will be multiple teams bidding for Brendan Sorsby. And I think that there should be. So, with that, just kind of laying it out on a very, very basic, very cursory level, I'd like to know, what's the opposition? What's the downside? All right, you lose a third-round pick. You lose maybe a second-round pick. I think that the risk is worth the swing myself. Okay. Major _ League 99. Sorsby's tailor-made for the Chiefs as a backup. Yeah, they take guys with checkered past. Well, I mean, not always at the quarterback spot. I mean, Mahomes did not have a checkered past. They had Alex Smith before that. Now, other guys on the skill level. Yes, I do agree with this. It's easier, and I appreciate the message. It's easier to do that when you have a stable building, when you have a healthy franchise, when you have the indisputable leader at quarterback, when you've got a Super Bowl champion, winning head coach who runs the whole building and everybody respects and everybody answers to, and there's great connect. Talk about the Knicks, right? Talk about the Knicks a lot and how the Knicks are connected as an organization. They're connected on the court. There's great synergy off the court. And I'm not saying the Knicks are the Chiefs. They haven't won anything yet, but you can tell when a team's healthy and when they're not. And I think that, that's why I gave you some of those other teams where maybe that's the situation that is the best, route to go. And maybe he winds up on the Bills or the Packers or Dallas or Green Bay or Cincy or one of those situations, the Texans with pretty good quarterback play and pretty stable situations. I don't know. But when you are, think about this, Jay, when you are 6'3", 235 pounds, run a 4.65 40, have a good arm, and have played a lot, like you're not some raw, unpolished quarterback that's had 6 or 7 starts. I know Dante Moore's had more than that. Or somebody like Dante Moore, who I think we all agreed going back to school at Oregon was the right choice. Get some more seasoning, a little thin, put on some functional weight. Like, it's not really a guessing game what kind of player Sorsby is, because there's a lot of throws on film. He's played a lot of games, over 30 games in college. And to me, the only thing you've got to really be okay with is, you've got to talk to him and you've got to trust the rehabilitation process. And you've got to believe that the character flaw that crept in, that the lack of a checkpoint and the ability to process in real time what's right and what's so clearly wrong, betting, even if it's for your team to win or for your team to score points. That's what he said. You've got to be okay with the young man. If that is a check, then I don't see any situation if he has to go to the supplemental draft where somebody should or doesn't take a swing on him. That's where I stand on Sorsby. I would love to see the Jets do it. I gave you 3-4 other teams. Do it. It is worth the swing. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the way you've described this man as a player, I mean, I'm not even like super familiar with him, but just statistically, I mean, this dude seems like an absolute beast. And here's my question with the situation. So is it a gambling addiction, or is it more so he's facing these things just for like these isolated incidents.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Because based on how I'm reading it, it seems like it only seemed like a few incidents of the thing. It didn't seem like this dude was up late night on DraftKings Casino playing Let It Ride.
Ride, let it ride.
But I'll say, with knowing that, no way a team wouldn't take a swing on him, especially after going to rehab, going to a gambling rehab at such a young age. I feel like having an experience like that certainly kind of instills the gravity of the situation in you.
Yeah, I forget about Sorsby because I don't want to attach this kind of a statement to him because I don't know what kind of person he is. I don't know. We know what he's done. We know that it's wrong. We know that it's unacceptable. And here we are. But there are a lot of times where people go into rehab just really from a PR point of view, honestly, just to kind of stabilize the situation. Like, say you get a prospect let's stick with the prospect. A prospect gets caught with, drugs. And I don't mean like, a vape or gummies. Like, I mean, heroin, God forbid, or cocaine, the pills. And there's a thought he's selling them or whatever it might be. And it's very easy to deduce that there is a problem deeper than just having a little bit of fun on college. And I'm not trying to make light of that kind of fun. I'm not. I'm trying to get separation between, being a college kid and next level stuff. I don't know. I don't know the depth of his gambling addiction. I don't know. I've never even come close to having a gambling addiction. Thank God. I've never had an alcohol addiction. I've never had a drug dependency addiction. I just haven't. But I do know the powers of certain things. Like when I was in college, like, I was a dipper, and like that's a different type of addiction. So I get it on some level. And it was incredibly hard to stop. I mean, God, it was really, 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 really hard to stop. So, I mean, is he up late night playing blackjack? Is he? I don't know. Is he running card games? I don't know the depth of it. It seems, based on what's been presented, that it's been a few isolated examples. And by the way, or instances, it's not like this is so foreign. What do you think is going to happen when you legalize gambling? You see, nobody thinks about this stuff downstream. And listen, I'll be totally honest with you guys. When it came, Jay, when it was time for us to vote, when you're married, you'll not that you can't vote now. I don't mean that at all. When you are in a town and there was like, whether it's maybe a big project for a field, like our local high school is really good at certain sports. And, quite frankly, they have a good baseball team, but they got to get their act together in terms of facilities. Otherwise, they're going to lose some really good players to private schools. And that's something that I've thought about for my own son. I mean, he's young, but it's something I've thought about, right? And there's something on the agenda where we would get hit as taxpayers, and there are residents whose children are out of the school system, or they're just, so old, and we love the elderly for sure. And they're not going to reap the benefits of, spend however much your taxes go up. And that's something that you vote on, right? Now, I know which way I'm going to vote. And I know which way everybody that I know in town that I either coach their kids or coach with or are friends with, everybody's going to go vote yes. But that's my inner circle. Yeah. And the point is, back to the gambling stuff, right? When it passed, now this was not our town. This was more the state of New Jersey, legalizing marijuana, right? And I'm very open about if you're an adult and you partake, and you're responsible and you're not driving and it's not a heavy drug, whatever. I'm fine with that. Just understand your limits. And, if you're going to have a gummy and go to a concert, knock yourself out, just get an Uber, right? But I voted no. I voted no, even though I'm comfortable with it for adults, because I knew it was going to pass, and it did. I did not want to open the gate for potential issues for the young kids coming up. Honestly, because their minds are developing and their decision process is still very raw, and they're going to make mistakes. And in my opinion, whether it's marijuana or gambling, the more access that you have to that at a younger age, the more mistakes you're going to make. And some of those mistakes can be really, really bad. While as a concept, recreational marijuana use, I'm fine with it. my wife and I both voted against it because we have 2 young kids. Even it was more of
that totally checks out.
It was like more of a not I don't want to say some moral stand on the high ground. I don't mean that, but it was just right for our home, right?
Yeah.
And the point is that all these things, not to get too far off the beaten path here with Sorsby, but I don't know what people thought. Like, did you really think that college kids who can have and I'm not just going to give free pops to all these gambling sites can open an account? If I think you have to be 18, if you're 18 years of age or older, right? 18, right, Jay?
Yep.
It's 18, and not have this creep into the NCAA and competitive sports and have some missteps and mistakes. And, because when you're young and you minimize the danger and you rationalize the prospects of what you're doing, if there's like smaller amounts attached, right? Like, think about buying 2 pounds of weed with the intent to sell it versus, going in and getting, 5 milligram gummies. Like, there's a world of difference there. But the more that those gates open up, the more mistakes will be made. So I'm not exonerating Sorsby entirely. I'm really not. I'm just trying to not be that old man, that old head who doesn't understand that it's very different. Like, I'm sure if I had access to that stuff when I was younger, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really don't. I was a serious athlete, so I never messed around too much. But I don't know. I don't know if me and my friends are sitting around and it's the off season and we're watching the Super Bowl. Are we opening accounts and betting?
Yes.
I'm sure we would be. Of course we would be, man.
Dude, my brother in high school was betting on sites because there are some sites that like before you're 18, you can like use like fake money, but and they have like tokens instead of real dollars that you're betting with, but it still like equates to real money. So it's like this gambling now, dude, it's almost like your 18th birthday. Obviously, it's a rite of passage for a lot of things, but like your 18th birthday now, it's almost a rite of passage of, hey, Jimmy, you can sign up for your DraftKings account now. You can sign up for your whatever, your sportsbook account, and which is just insane. But in this sort of scenario, it makes sense where this guy, okay, how old is he? 24, 20?
I think he's a little younger than that.
22, 23, like my age.
Well, remember, he's in Indiana 2 years. Didn't play it all the first year. Got a little bit of run year 2. Then he went to Cincinnati. Had 2 good years. Yes, I think he redshirted his first year. So he might even be 20. He might be 22, 23. Yeah.
So, a guy like that, he's probably legitimately been introduced to online gambling for at least 6 years, had the idea in his mind for longer than that. And so it's like, I mean, I have to imagine that this is probably a rampant issue in the NCAA.
Yes,
it's just not being caught.
Yes, that's absolute. Brendan Sorsby is not the only one doing this. We've seen it infiltrate the NFL. Guys have been suspended. We see what's going on. Damon Jones, former coach, some other NBA, players and former players. It's I mean, so we shouldn't be stunned by this. By the way, BT, you going to gamble with the fans on July 11 there. I'm going to do a little gambling. It's going to be a little legal variety. You bet your ass I'm going to sit down, play a little blackjack, probably playing fans and probably doing the side bets as well. I would. That's going to be that massive Jets gathering of all content creators. It's on the YouTube page. But if you go to the post section on this channel, all the information. July 11, tickets $25. It's going to be awesome. We'll be out there as a show. The Jets collected, myself and Rich and Jake and Connor Hughes will be out there. It's going to be good. All the people that you follow with the Jets will be there. So, yes, I'm going to be, this is a problem with the casinos when I go. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. There was a point, and, I would go all the time. And now, it's not as fun. And I know that this is going to sound like a dick thing to say, and I don't mean it like that. But, there's no anonymity anymore. So you go to a casino and, and I used to go, I basically we'd have a drink in our hand the whole night. I mean, come on, man. You know how you do. You know how you do it when you're young.
Yeah.
And, even when I was on 1050 ESPN radio or on SNY, like before I got married, way before I had kids, you get a few people bumping it. Yo, what's up? Love the show, whatever it might be. And, I don't need, to be stumbling, which I wouldn't do at this age anyway, stumbling around a casino, you know what I mean? So it's like, even that's going to be tempered with how I attack the night. And really and I've also said this, I don't really enjoy many of the casino games. Like poker to me is too slow, and I'm not very good at it. It does not match the way my brain works in terms of speed. I am somebody who, like, I like to be busy.
Sure.
I like to be busy, and I'm capable of juggling 4 or 5 things at once. And to me, sitting there with poker, all right, I got a 3 and I got an unsuited 3 and an 8. All right, cards suck, but I think I need some action. Let me play. Poker's the wrong game for me. I get incredibly bored playing roulette. Think. Come on, speed up. Let's go. Red, black, 23, 20. We know the numbers I'm going to pick here, but too boring. I do like Let It Ride. I've talked about that, but it's literally among the worst odds in the house.
Yep.
I have no idea what's going on in craps. They can tell me, oh, you won. Oh, you lost. I literally don't know. And that is a powerless situation. So, I'm not going to pull slots. Not that I won't stick in $100 bill and try to hit some man. Like I might do that once, get a couple of pulls here. But
yes, sir.
Like even the games at the casino to me outside of blackjack are not very appealing. But yes, I will have a little fun with that, and I will do a little bit of that. So the Sorsby thing's gaining traction. He was going to play for I don't even know what they gave him for NIL. I would have to guess for a quarterback. He's got to be Texas Tech, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. Who the hell knows? 8's low at this point. Probably more in that 12 to 13, maybe more range. And he could play. And he is big, and he is strong, and he's fast. And he's not green. Like, he's gotten reps. So somebody's going to get him. Somebody's going to put in that blind bid, and somebody's going to walk away with him. Don't know who it's going to be, but I wanted to get up to speed on this because I don't want to take for granted that everybody knows about this. And like I said, I even had to do a little research. Like, I didn't know that it started in 1977. Every time I hear the supplemental draft, I'll be honest with you, I just kind of nod in my head. I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe supplemental draft. Maybe that'll work out. I had to do a little research. So I wanted to get you guys up to speed on that. All right, Jay, what was the question? We'll get to 3 birdie questions a little bit here. What was the question yesterday that came up that I said I will save for today?
It was the Jaxson Dart Carter situation. Yeah. Jaxson Dart going up to the podium, introducing the president of the United States.
Yep.
And it's brought about a lot of controversy either which way. I know how you stand on it.
Yeah. I see Boomer had a pretty heavy take yesterday. Boomer's been pulled into a lot of articles written about that, and a lot of people with him, a lot of people against him. And that's where we are. All right, let's talk about it here. So I know it was a while ago, at this point, 4 or 5 days over the weekend. Memorial Day, didn't do a show Memorial Day. Was going to get to it yesterday. Obviously, I was not going to let that bleed into a Nick Day in terms of content. Somebody put up a super chat, asked my opinion, and I was going to get to it today anyway. I didn't want to short-sight it, and I wanted, like, when you talk about something like that, to try to wedge that in and rush it is, number one, a disservice to the conversation because it's a very important one. And I think that's where you could not get in trouble. I'm not worried about getting in trouble. I'll say whatever's in my heart. But I'm also, listen, I am of the belief this is the first time I really remember saying this. And it goes back to when I was working with Stephen A. And when I was obviously no longer working with Stephen, but going on with my career. I've never had an issue talking about race. Now, I've got to understand my lane. Like, there's just certain things that first of all, there's just certain things that you should never say. And there's certain things that you can say, but you better be smart enough and you better be open-minded enough to understand that as a white man, there's just certain things that you can't tell other people what to think or what to say. Like, that's where you get in trouble, right? And whether it's race or whether it's politics, I've never had an issue talking about this stuff, and I don't shove it down your throat, and I think you guys are inherently aware of that. That has been one of the fundamental staples of this channel. Obviously, it's about passion. I'd like to think I know what I'm talking about. I like to think I'm interesting. I like to think occasionally I'm funny. I like to think I'm occasionally nuts and wacky, which obviously plays when I get all worked up. And I know that you guys know that I love sports. Like, I love it. And that's why I'm still doing this, right? But I've never been reticent to get into this because, to me, unless you have real malice, real underlying hatred, malice, racism, sexism, whatever, ageism, you should be comfortable talking about this stuff because you really shouldn't be worried about the wrong thing coming out. Like if you think one thing, right, and you're trying to project something to appeal to kind of everybody and not, I promise you, if you talk about one of those sensitive, polarizing topics enough, you're going to reveal your inner self and you're going to reveal your inner truths. And if your inner truths are laced with malice, okay, or hatred or whatever it might be, that's the end. Like that's going to eventually be a wrap on your career. So I never run from this because I don't have that malice. I've got my own thoughts. I've got my own belief system. I've got certain things that I will never waver from in terms of how I comport myself and what my family believes and what my wife and I espouse in our home. But I'm not afraid to talk about this stuff. So let's talk about it. All right. So something's been conflated here. And this, I think this is the first thing that the first thing that needs to be said is that I don't think it's going to be an issue with the Giants. I really don't. Number one, and this is just the reality of it, John Harbaugh is a massive Donald Trump supporter. So is Jim. Both of them are. And obviously, so is Jaxson Dart. And based on Abdul Carter's tweet, which is certainly is right, although I prefer a text rather than, some sort of public discourse or a phone call or really a conversation when you show up to OTAs here and workouts, it certainly is right. So I think we kind of know where people are aligned here, right? At least with the main participants in the Giants universe right now. And that's the way of the world. Now, the polarization of politics, I don't know that anything's really crippled the morale of our country more than that and more than this. I really don't know. You could say religion. To me, that's a bit of more of a world thing. Obviously, crime and the economy and education. There are so many things that people can agree to disagree on. But you've got the scathing hot world of politics that has literally ripped apart families where they no longer have Thanksgiving together because they believe things that are so polar opposite and counter to what somebody in their family believes. And that's sad. I mean, that is really unfortunate, but that happens all the time. I mean, I see it on Twitter. People willfully put this out there, not going to, not having Thanksgiving dinner with my parents because my dad's a massive Trump supporter, or my mom's a massive Biden when Biden was president supporter, whatever it might be. And it really is crazy. You talk about the erosion of respect. All right. That's really what it comes down to. Respect. Like I believe, and I know that this sounds good, right? When you say it, but I don't really know how we get back to that place of universal respect, because when I was, and I've said this before, not that I talk politics much at all, but just a jumping off point. When I was growing up, I didn't know who my parents voted for. I didn't know what they thought. Like the presidency was a place of reverence. All right. You vote who you vote for. If your candidate doesn't win, you get behind the person that did. And for the greater good of the country and future generations, you support that person. Really, the only thing that I really remember, we didn't even talk about it in college. Not once did it come up. Now, we were also a bunch of knuckleheads. Let's say we were the most worldly students, me and my crew, playing video games, playing baseball, whatever, going out. But not once did we have a conversation about elections. The only time it crept onto my campus was when the OJ verdict came down. I remember where I was. I was walking to a class. I was with my buddy Matt, who I lived with. And there was definitely a reaction. No protest, no crazy over-the-top demonstrations either way, but there was definitely a reaction, all right? And that's the only time. The only other time certainly as a young boy, I've got no recollection of that in my home. And as a young man, the only time politics, and it was on the most cursory surface level, was my college girlfriend's parents had a picture of JFK in their home, like a little shrine to President Kennedy. That was it, and the way it is now, nuance has been lost. I get it. Like you're not going to reinvent the wheel, There's very few people that are able to converse pragmatically and, share a thought that might be counter to the group that they're with, but do so respectfully and then listen to what the other person's saying and then agree to disagree. I remember when I had Stephen A on, obviously he's going to run for something someday. He's not giving up those 40 million bones from ESPN, but eventually he's not going to be on First Take when he's 64. I can promise you that. So eventually Stephen A is either going to own an NBA team or be in politics. I firmly believe that. Now, the thing with somebody like Stephen, I think that he does a really good job, and he's described himself as a centrist, which is you're kind of in the middle and you pull little pieces from both parties. And I remember saying to him, and again, I'm not trying to get into the weeds on politics. I'm not. But I remember saying, but I do follow it, so I'm informed enough to bring this to him to get a good answer, to have a good conversation. Stephen A is aligned more with the Democrats, okay, in terms of philosophy. But he doesn't agree with everything that is out there. And he's very vocal about it, which means, so I said, hey, and he said he would only run as a Democrat, right? Even though he espouses many things on the other side. And I said, how would you ever win when your base in all probability would not fully be behind you? And I'll let you, go and get the answer from the interview that we did. But he's one of those people that I think does certainly publicly, that does a pretty good job of incorporating everything into it. And I remember saying to him, I'm like, man, too many of these political shows, you go on and as a guest, right? And you've got the moderator, you've got one side, you've got the other side, you got the split screen, and you know what the producers want. They want venom. They want yelling. They want rage. They want clicks. They want hate. Nobody cares about the damage it's doing downstream for the younger people in our country and the world, or for even the older people in our country and the world. Nobody cares about that residual damage. They care about monetizing the brand, the conversation. This is going to get 500,000 clicks. This is going to get 2 million. It's just the way the world goes. It sucks, but that's the reality of it. And when you've got that split screen, you've got the moderator, you got one dude or one woman on the left and one dude or one woman on the right, and they've got their 4 or 5 talking points. Ding, 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 ding. The other person, ding, 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 ding. Nobody's listening to what's being said, and their only mission is to shout down the other person, minimize their points, and both ways, and shove their points down their throat. Now, is that productive? It's incredibly unproductive and non-productive. Matter of fact, it's 2 steps beyond that. It's damaging. Now, just wanted to kind of lay a few things out. Now, specific to the Dart and the Carter thing, I don't think it'll be a problem with the Giants organization. I don't. I think if you could bowl, you could bowl, and if you can't, you can't. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, if Dart doesn't play well, he's going to really get crushed. True. And those would be, well, first of all, if you don't play well, I don't care who you voted for, you're going to get crushed in New York. So that was kind of hijacked a little bit. But I also saw something where I believe after the rally, Jaxson Dart's jersey sales spiked. So there's a lot of people who obviously agree with this. Listen, guys, this is incredibly complex stuff, but it's made more complex when it's made public. And that's really my main takeaway from this, okay? Listen, do I believe that Jaxson Dart is wrong for going to introduce President Trump? Absolutely not. Do I believe that Abdul Carter is wrong for believing that, supporting President Trump is wrong? No, because that's what he believes. The problem is being public about it. That's now you could also say, well, Jaxson Dart was public about it. Yeah, agreed. I agree. And that's where we get a little nuance. And I'm not trying to assign blame here. I'm really not. And I know that, Carter walked it back, said we had a conversation, we're good. And I believe that that's the case, right? But too many people have tried to equate what Dart did and what Carter did as the same. And it's not. And a lot of you don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. So when you support somebody, that is your civil right. Now, it's also your right to basically tweet whatever you want. I get that. But Dart did not intentionally impugn the integrity of anybody. He merely supported a president that he happens to believe in. Whereas Carter basically took a railroad to what I guess what he believes there. So I don't know. I hate that we're here. I really truly hate that we're here. It's unfortunate, and I don't know how it's going to get better, J-Rod. And that's the problem, and it's a real problem, and it's a big problem. And to me, sadly, it's going to be a problem that only gets bigger and bigger and bigger because there's no more checkpoints anymore. There's no more checkpoints like you believe what you believe, and I believe that I've got a right to shit on what you believe. Well, yeah, you do. You're not going to social media jail. You're not going to get arrested. But what happened to having a civil conversation and exchanging ideas?
Yeah, I don't know. I
What's
mean,
happened?
my thought, listen, I got a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
This one's a little, I think, the MLB makes more money when the Red Sox and Yankees hate each other. So there you go. Like, I'm not talking sports there. That's an analogy. Like, I think the world, these companies, media companies, Twitter, every news source, they just build up these issues literally just to gain a reaction from viewers, gain clicks, get money, when in reality, there's not a problem anyway. There's not an actual disengagement. I mean, you and I talk here every freaking morning. I know you and I got different political views. Now, I'm not an overtly political guy, and neither are you. So I think that's where we align here. But it's just bullshit. I mean, I think about it. If I was Jaxson Dart and if I was the other dude, I'd be doing this on purpose just to rile people up, just to get them riled up, because it's just so easy nowadays to bait people into thinking that there's actual vitriol, when in reality, the only vitriol between the parties is from the way over here and the way over here. But everybody in the middle, I don't feel any vitriol for. And I don't think Jaxson Dart is one of these guys who's way over here. And I don't think Carter either resembles a guy who's way over here. But when you get into the media discourse about it, it's like Jaxson Dart is a pro-Trump MAGA guy, and Carter is a liberal. He's a liberal woke freak. Like, and it's like, dude, in reality, it's probably not even remotely close to that as the situation.
Well, think about that. That's an interesting point. In anything, even if it's not about politics, but generally, the loudest, most dissenting voices, right, are the most argumentative voices, are those that reside in the smallest percentage of what you just said. You think about that. If you've got 100 people and you took, or if you took 5 people for every state, I understand you got blue states, you get red states, so maybe that's not the best example. But if you put 100 people, 100 Americans, and you kind of 100 Americans, and you kind of pluck them from all the different pockets of our country, I think that probably 70, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic here, but I choose to think there's more good than not. I'd say about 70 can actually have real civil discourse and probably agree to disagree. Now, again, there's certain topics within those conversations that are going to be more inflammatory, get your heart beat up a little bit, kind of get you at the edge of your seat. I get that. I'm not an idiot, man. I'm not naive, right? But it's generally those that are making up the smaller numbers that, really, I don't want to say ruin it for everybody, but just really complicate the world. And I come down to this, like, it's such a basic statement, but I really don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care who you voted for. Like, if you want to share that, great. I don't care who you sleep with. Are you a good person? Now, that is an overly to say that in 2026, that sounds naive. Like, you know what I mean? And trust me, I could do hours on this. And actually, well,
like, is it truly naive? I don't know. I think we've just lost. Like, I think most people have just lost themselves and lost their minds because. And I think a lot of it stems from a lack of a sense of belonging that a lot of human beings deal with in the modern day. We're so disconnected from each other through the internet that political parties and stuff like that, they really give you, just like a sports team does, just like the Mets and the Yankees and the Jets and the Knicks and the Nets and the blah, 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 blah do. Political parties give you a chance to feel like you belong when you are a person who does not belong in other cases. If you're a person who's really seriously worked up about politics, or you're just a person who's more insular of a guy who's not really, maybe you didn't play a ton of sports as a kid, maybe you didn't have a ton of friends, and you were kind of more of a loner. Politics is the perfect place to find a community, find people who will back you no matter what you say, and find people who believe exactly what you do. It ain't hard to find, and it's probably the only place where you can kind of get that sense of moral validation. A sports team, you could be like, I'm part of a community, but when you have politics on your side, no, you're actively getting a validation going, I'm better than these people. Yeah. I have some moral superiority over another group, and that's my sense of belonging.
That's well said. Very interesting there, J-Rod.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've noticed with people my age. I think a lot of people in my generation delve into politics out of loneliness, out of a sense of like, I need my voice is not being heard and I'm not getting enough attention, and like I'm trying to be heard. Like, please hear me. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I can promise you this will not be the last example of two teammates, being in the public discourse where there's obviously a very big difference in belief systems and all that other stuff. You just hope now it's going to be on Harbaugh to flush through this year, and I think that he will. I think that he'll be good at that. I think he'll be effective at that. And crazy thing too, it's like we tend to just think about politics being the launch point to that energy and that anger and that rage. But if you really think about it, Jay, it's even kind of crossed over just to how we react to sports teams. Now, when I was young, I wasn't walking around, saying, "Oh, fire this guy, trade that guy." But because number one, there wasn't 24/7 sports and there was no social media in terms of radio. You'd get the highlights at 11 o'clock on the news or 10 o'clock, whatever it was. You'd watch the game of the week. You'd watch MSG. You get your Knicks. You get your Yankees. If you had Sports Channel, get your Mets, whatever it might be. Channel 9 Mets, Channel 11 Yankees. NBC, game of the week, NBA, and that was pretty much it. And now it's almost like the more avenues that people have to express themselves, the more it's got to be pushed to a level where they're going to be heard. Otherwise, it's just and stand out. And when you stand out, generally you get paid. And when you get paid, life becomes not perfect, but a lot easier. And that's the pursuit by a lot of people here. But even the reaction to bad situations in pro sports. I'm not saying fans wouldn't boo, in the 70s or the 80s. They did. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't know. What was it the same? What was it the same deep-rooted, apparent disdain for somebody that you get now? I mean, now we've just got no tolerance for, all right, get off to a bad start, bench them, cut them, fire them, trade them, whatever. And it really is kind of a microcosm of the other stuff too. Talking about sports, I just wanted to get into a little bit. I'm sure you guys might have some questions, some reactions. I'm going to ask you guys, and hopefully you'll abide by it. If you want to jump in on this stuff, whether it's a call, whether it's chat, by all means, go for it. I'm not going to sit here and let you destroy either side or make it personal. It's not happening on the show. I'm not going to do it. It's not what I'm here for. So, anything that to me, and we can have a discussion. I'm not running from stuff, but my responsibility is to make everybody feel comfortable here. I don't mean hold your hand. Oh, we're going to be fine. Knicks are down 0-3 in the finals. I don't mean that stuff, but this will never be a place where you don't feel like you can, like you're not welcome. All right. So let's keep it clean. Let's keep the standards of the channel up. We know what this is about. Hopefully you guys know what I'm about, and that's the way we're going to do it. And if there's any other stuff, I'm just not going to read the chat, or if it's a call, I'm going to hang up on you. Bottom line. All right, Jay. I think that what else do we have here? I got
there we go.
What's that? What are you reaching for there? What?
Me? Nothing. No, I was
hold on.
There we go.
How about this? So how about this, right? And I'm trying to read this. So. Yeah, I shouldn't even go. I'm not. You get mad at me if I read this. Well, I'm not gonna read it word for word, right? This is one of the tough things about being a dad. Okay. So, my son, his class has this thing called like a wax museum, and they were you can try to be somebody. You're given a list, right? And then you had to basically you have to do a presentation. I don't think there's any political figures, but a lot of athletes and stuff like that.
Were you like dress up as the guy?
Yeah,
Dude, that's a classic. Yeah.
So of course my son goes for Aaron Judge, and there was a long list for Aaron Judge. He wound up getting Aaron Judge. Now
That's
it's
sick.
great. So he went in there. He's got his Yankee jersey on. His Yankee. I think he put eye black on. He's got the high blue stirrups, whatever. And so it's basically like a wax museum. And then like you push a button, and then the child kind of comes to life.
That's so funny.
There's a little history, whatever it might be. And I couldn't go because it's at 10:30 in the morning,
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't miss anything, man. Like, I'm at every game. I mean, but I got to do the show. And my wife just texted me, you should be here. Yeah, come on. I mean, that's the last thing I want to see now. You don't think I wanted to be there? You don't think that he texted me right before he went into school? And I told him, he's like, Dad, is there any way you could come? I'm like, buddy, I can't. So now I'm sitting here feeling bad that I didn't go. I'm feeling bad that I didn't go. She sent me a video. Oh, so-and-so's here. All right, well, so-and-so doesn't have to do a show. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, listen, responsibility calls. There you go.
Well, it does. It definitely does. It does, but man, there's no place else I'd rather be. But like, I gotta do a job here. I mean, would she have said that if I was still at WFAN? I don't think she would have. You should have taken off the day. Of course I want to be there, man. It's a tough
you could have him reenact it. You could have him reenact it when he gets
no, I was practicing with him. I was giving him tips, like, because listen, he's not a public speaker. He's still young. Some kids, that are maybe in choir or, drama, they're going to be a little bit, more equipped to address an auditorium, so we were going over it last night, and I'm saying, hey, listen, when you look down, I said, eye contact is important. Don't rush through it. We went through 2 or 3 different versions, right? I said, think about this. I said, when you talk down, your words will kind of go to the floor. When you look up and you make eye contact, they'll project out to the audience.
Yeah.
Like, so I was trying to make sure he was buttoned up with all this stuff. But man, oh man, and now I'm looking at this video, but I'm not going to watch it now because I'm on the air. It's killing me, Jay. Oh my God, man.
Hey, listen,
that's the toughest thing about being a parent, man. Like, it's tough enough because it's a real responsibility, the biggest one in life, and it's hard and financially, and more important than that, other aspects too. But man, when you miss something that you don't want to miss, and thankfully, given my job and my hours in my career, not just now, I've been able to do so much stuff, not to mention basically coach or watch every single game they've ever played in every sport they've ever played in. But yeah, man, today, I was trying to put it to the back of my mind and not think about it. But when I started the show, I was thinking about it,
of course,
real life stuff. All right, man. What are you gonna do? Hopefully he did well. All right, you ready? A little 3 birdie questions. Let's go, Jay. We got a couple of good ones for you today. Let's go. Pop it up there, buddy. I got 3 good ones. I'm gonna mix it up. A little diversity. 3 burning questions here. Brought to you by, of course, Sullivan Papain, one of New York's best personal injury law firms, according to U.S. News and World Report, as general counsel to the New York City Firefighters Union for the more than 4 decades, and the proud law firm partner of St. John's Athletics. Sullivan Papain is New York's team fighting for New Yorkers for more than 100 years. Find Sullivan online at triallaw1.com. That is triallaw1.com. Remember the name, Sullivan Papain. Question number 1. Get it up there. Here we go. Ooh, how should the Yankees handle Anthony Volpe? This is simple. You play him is what you do. You tell McMahon you're not going to be really needed for a while. Maybe you throw him a bone against a righty. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to run Volpe out there as the shortstop, and I'm going to have Cabby and Rosario, who play third, obviously, and Cabby's going to get a little look there as well. Basically everybody had. I think last night was the first night in the history of the Yankees where everybody had at least 2 hits. I mean, the Royals are bad, but still, I'm going to play him. I mean, because think about this, guys. When Volpe was drafted, and then when he won the Gold Glove, and 20 bombs, 20 home runs, rookie, we're cut down the strikeouts, get on base a little bit more. Like, we're thinking, hey, how good is this kid going to be? And well, now and then he got hurt, and whatever, banished to the minors, rightfully so. He's playing pretty well. I mean, I know it's early, it's a small sample, but you want to talk about immense pressure with this young man? He's hitting 281. More importantly, and it is very, trust me, I have to parse the enthusiasm. It's a small sample, and he has started seasons well before. He's on base 42% of the time. His OPS is over 890. He's got 3 doubles, got a home run, couple of steals, 7 ribbies. Playing well. Now, that play on Salvi Perez last night in the hole, across the diamond, very nice. But, I mean, Salvi, I mean, I could probably beat him in a race at this point, which is saying nothing. I'm going to play him every day. I'm going to play him every day is what I'm going to do. And, I'm sorry. You want to say if you start Rosario, even though McMahon's defensive numbers are down this year, all right, I'm gonna put him maybe a little seventh, eighth inning defensive replacement. Maybe let him get a couple of at-bats against a righty that he matches up well with. But the Yankees are a better team when you got Cabby and Volpe, or you have Cabby and Rosario, or you have Cabby and Rosario, like Cabby Volpe, Rosario Volpe, pardon me. So it's going to be a combination of all that stuff. The Yankees did not acquire Caballero to be an everyday player. The way he played when Volpe was hurt kind of forced him to change their tune a little bit. But, this was a guy that and is a player in Volpe that you've got a lot invested in. And because McMahon is not, a good hitter, and because his defensive numbers have taken a step back, there is an internal option. Now, there could also be a trade down the road, but that's what I'm doing. How should they handle Volpe? You play him. I mean, that's basic stuff. Number one, you play him. All right, number two. What do we got? What did J-Rod cook up? What are your thoughts on combined no-hitters in MLB? I could not care less. I think that they are, combined no-hitters. Who gives a shit? Who cares at this point? So if I said to you, J-Rod, you could stay off camera, but how many total combined no-hitters do you think? Just give me a guess. It's a tough question. I don't even know if I would have gotten in the ballpark. In the history of Major League Baseball, how many do you think we've
15 solo perfect games, right?
No, it's about no-hitters, not perfect games.
Oh, no. Okay, no-hit.
Combined all the years.
Dude, why do I think it's
late
like some
1800s.
high number?
No, it's not.
It's not?
Nope.
All right.
Not that high.
8.
No, higher. 22.
Okay.
Right, so
see, that was close. I was going to go 30.
All right. That would have been a good guess. There would have been in the ballpark. So think about this. 4 of the 22, or maybe even 21. I think 21. 4 of the 21 were before 1990. You had 2 in 1917. Ironically, Babe Ruth was actually involved in one of those. And that's an asterisk because Babe Ruth got ejected before the game started. He was supposed to pitch for the Red Sox, got ejected. And I don't even know who came in, but whoever came in threw a no-hitter. So that's even not a real one there because he did go the distance. And then you had 1 in 1975 and 1 in 1976. And every other one was, obviously those are long examples ago. But think about this. Like, I get it with the pitch counts. If you've got a guy, like there was never a question, if I'm watching a game and it doesn't matter if it was an ace or a scrub, if he's got 109 pitches in the 7th inning and he's got a no-no up on the board, you're going to let him go. The Mets did that with Johan Santana. Now, of course, the Mets being the Mets, it didn't really work out because they pushed him a little bit too much and, wound up hurting him, even though he got the no-hitter. So was it worth it? No. And teams at this point are at that point. It is not worth it. So you're going to get more and more combined no-hitters than I think regular no-hitters based on prevention and, especially if it's a young guy or an ace. Nobody's throwing 137 pitches. I don't give a shit if it's a perfect game. I don't care what it is. So that's the answer there. When I see, and we saw this the other day, so, a combined no-hitter, to me, it was like equivalent to somebody hitting 3 home runs in a game, and I know, 3 home runs is a little bit more common in Major League Baseball history, but I'm like, oh, okay, good night. That's it. Although one is purely individual, one is a combined effort, means nothing to me. I'm not going to say, it's not kind of cool because it doesn't happen much, but I don't put it on any pedestal. It is what it is, whatever. Next question here. Are we stick with baseball? We are. Which MLB team is the biggest disappointment thus far? Biggest disappointment. The Royals are pretty bad, but I don't know that anybody thought they would be great. The Mets are. I don't know how you can't say the Mets here. The Mets are just a broken, disgraceful mess. I'll get back to them in a moment. Oh, God. I'm going to say Seattle. Last week we did the biggest surprise favorably, and I gave you the White Sox, who are, 500 a game above, whatever, right in that neighborhood. I think you got to go with Seattle. Seattle made some so got some bats over the offseason to match their pitching. They're 2 games under 500. The American League is not good. They've got a barely over, favorable run differential, plus 16. All right. They're under 500 at home. And they've got 5 regulars with an OPS of 750 or better. So And that's pretty good. That's not a knock. I mean, the Yankees aren't rolling that out right now. Not many teams are. 5 regulars, OPS, 750 or better. And I believe 4 of the 5 are over 800. At least 3 of the 5 are. So, like, I don't know what's going on. I know they started poorly, 8-13. A lot of good teams. It's happened before. You know, the Nationals won the World Series, started 19-31. The Mets back in 2024. They were right about where they are right now. They went on a run, almost got to the World Series, beat the Phillies in the DS, lost to the Dodgers in the NLCS. But to me, it's got to be Seattle. Like, you can only be a disappointment if we expected something from you. You know, like, do you have a decent payroll? They do. Did you have success last year? They did. Do they have good pitchers? Absolutely. You know, do they have, have they been together for a couple of years? Yeah. I mean, do they have a good, vibrant fan base that's going to support the team? They do. So I'm going to say Seattle. I'm going to go with Seattle right now. I do believe they're going to rectify this, unlike the Mets, but Seattle at 27-29. That is my answer. And there you go. 3 burning questions. Usually do it every Monday on the show. But of course, Monday was the holiday. Didn't do the show. And it is brought to you by Sullivan, Papain, online at triallaw1.com. That's triallaw1.com. Remember the name, Sullivan, Papain. All right. So, you know, listen, the Mets here, I mean, not backing up bases. I don't understand it, you know. And I thought Ron Darling was Ron's always good. Pretty on point, though, you know, basically saying, hey, this is accepted. And, you know, and I watch Mendoza's. I'm not really watching much of the Mets games these days. Why would you? But I'm paying attention to the stories. And if they get hot again, I'll start checking in more regularly. And there will be a show fairly soon where we're going to have that hard discussion. All right, who are you trading and when are you selling? Because it's over. Like, that's going to come. The Mets are going nowhere this year. They're broken. And we're also going to have a show, if and when that moment comes, like, maybe not during the season, but certainly during the offseason. You know, Juan Soto signed that massive deal there. You cannot tell me he's happy. I don't care what he said about the future of the Mets. He may have believed that. I don't think I can't prove it, so I'm not trying to be unfair to Juan, but I can't prove it. I think the reason why I took the Mets is because the Mets gave him more money, but more importantly, the Mets made concessions that the Yankees weren't willing to make. Bottom line. I mean, they just did. You want this? You want a suite? You want that? Sure, whatever you want. Come on, we're desperate. Come on, Juan, we need you. And they did need him. And I gave the Mets a lot of credit in beating the Yankees out and others in the Juan Soto sweepstakes here. But we are getting perilously close to the Juan Soto era in terms of years being 0-2. First year, 83 wins, no playoffs. I'm not saying it's his fault. That's not the point. Year 2, shape it up to be even worse, far worse than year 1. And it's going to be 0-2 in terms of playoffs. And, you know, the deeper, more macro discussions down the road with him is going to be, number 1, does he ever ask to be traded? I don't know. Number 2, once we get to that point, and I believe it's after year 5, I want to double check that in a minute, where he can opt out. And the Mets actually have the ability to prevent him from, let me get this now. I believe it's year 5. I want to make sure I'm buttoned up with that. Where after the year, and again, I believe it's year 5, the only way he can leave, even if he wants to leave, is if the Mets do not tack on extra money like $4 million a year. And if they do that, even if he says, I want out, and he opts out, well, then the Mets tack on another $4 million. But why would you do that if you're not winning and he's getting, you know, at that point, a little bit older or whatever, a little bit worse in the outfield? Like, it is going to be an amazing, and not amazing the way amazing is usually used for the Mets there, like the amazing Mets, you know, the miracle Mets, or, you know, you got to believe Mets. Like, it's going to become a real situation where a lot quicker than a lot of people thought. I think it's going to get very, very ugly on a lot of different levels, because there's no way he can be happy. I know he's trying to be a better leader this year. I do see that, but their starting pitching stinks. I even think that the Mets farm system has been grossly overrated. I like Ewing. I like Benj. But let's not make it seem like these guys are coming up, you know, with an OPS of 870, setting the world on fire, hitting bombs. Like, they might be pieces down the road. And I believe that they both will be here. But the Mets have an absence of talent, a dearth of talent everywhere you look. And, you know, the previous wave of prospects, I mean, who the hell could play? Alvarez is a physical bust. And not to mention, when he plays, he's not that good. You know, Beatty is not what I thought he was going to be. He ain't it. You know, Vientos, dime a dozen, you know, a right-handed hitter with a little bit of thump who can't play anywhere and can't run. So Vientos is not part of the equation. Mauricio's always hurt. And, you know, I'm not going to lump McClain into that, because I believe McClain's got special qualities that the others do not. But even McLean, who was thought to be a savior this year in a non-savior role behind Peralta, who was supposed to assume that ace role, he's been good, but he hasn't been anything special at all. You have to think about when they trade him too. It's just a convoluted mess with the Mets. And you hear the same thing. And what Darling said, in a fairly pointed way, they were talking about this, I think Gary asked him, hey, is this going to be broached? And about not backing up bases or just being absent of being, and I'll get back to the Soto thing in a moment, being absent of fundamentals, which the Mets are grossly inept at. Like, they're just not there. It seems like fundamentals are optional with the Mets. It's crazy, dude. It really is. And that's on a manager. I mean, it's got to be. Like, if you're a buttoned up, well-run team, and the manager's going to get credit if your team isn't backing up bases and booting the ball and hitting like shit, it's not the manager's fault. What are you kidding me? Now, I'm not saying that it's his absolute fault because the roster stinks. That's Stearns. But you can't absolve Mendoza when your team plays sloppy baseball. And I love what Darling said, and he's right. He's like, hey, listen, I'm sure it's being broached, Gary, but if it's not changing, it's not being broached effectively. And like I've even said that, to be fair, I've said that about Aaron Boone. I love Boone, but I've said this in the past, like Josh Donaldson, Grisham. I believe that Aaron does, behind closed doors, chew out some of these players here, for, an absence of awareness or being locked in. But if they can, like Donaldson, would throw the ball was gone, he'd pimp, he wouldn't run out of the box. Glaber would do that stuff. And, I would always say, yeah, I get it. I'm sure, because I know that Boone's got a little red ass in him. I know, just not publicly as much with his players. I'm not talking about the umps. But when you do deliver that message in a very direct manner behind closed doors, which I believe that Mendoza probably does and Boone probably does, and Boone does, but it doesn't change on the field, well then, and this was Ronnie's point, I mean, how effective is it, especially in the case of Mendoza? And that was an outstanding point. All right, so this is year 2. Yeah, after year 5, so I was right. So he's got all the 27, all the 28, all the 29. He's at 51 this year. For some reason, it goes down to 47 next year. Then it goes up to 51 again. Now, in going into the year 2030 at the age of 31, Soto could opt out of his contract after the 2029 World Series, and then the Mets could negate that opt-out by increasing his salaries for 2030 through 2039 with an extra $4 million a year. So now, 51 is going to become 55, and it's 51 basically straight across the board. Why would you do that? I mean, you would do it if you're winning. You would do it if it's working. I don't know why you would do it. Number one, I don't know if he's going to be worth that. At the back end, nobody's worth. Alex wasn't worth that money. Judge won't be. Nobody's worth that money at that age. I get that. So it's not a Soto thing. But even if is he going to be worth it at the age of 32, 33? I mean, that's debatable because so many things in baseball need to be right around him. And basically everything right now is wrong with the Mets. So I understand why they wanted to protect themselves, and I get it. The Yankees did it with Garrett Cole, but the Yankees were like, yeah, sure, go find another contract. Go do it. We're not going to give it to you. And the Yankees played a little hardball with Garrett Cole, and it worked out favorably for the Yankees. They were going to tack on those extra years. Hey, if you can go out and get a better deal, go find it. Go find it. You're not a kid anymore, And I would think, like, right now, sure, like, I mean, again, next year is going to be a wacky baseball season, so it's incredibly hard to try to read what's going to happen. Let's just say there's a condensed version of I can't imagine the whole year's wiped out. So figure a truncated season, probably more than COVID, 60 in 2020, and probably far less than 162. But I do believe there's going to be baseball on some level. So, the Mets are a disaster again this year. They're going to win 70-something games. They could win in the 60s if it really goes south. They could. That's on the table. They're that bad. And then now it's 2 years, 2 wastes. And if they don't go bonkers and some of whether it's spend more money or I don't know how it's going to get. My point is, I don't know how it's going to get to a championship level, by the time the Mets have to make that decision on Juan Soto. I don't know. Now, you never know. You never know. So I'm going to leave the door a little bit open because I think Cohen's frustration, you'd have to think he's going to keep trying to win and win and win and spend and spend and spend. And if they, hit some of the right things, maybe the situation changes fast. But there is just so much wrong with the Mets. and so much up in the air with the New York Mets. It's absolutely crazy. All right, what do we got here? Avery Summit. Let's see. The Yanks missing out on Soto will eventually have the same glorious ending as the Knicks, losing the 2022 Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes there. Now, that's interesting. Nobody wanted to hear it, and I was not fronting here. When the Mets got Soto, I remember like it was, because it wasn't that long ago, but I remember like it was yesterday. Show starts, and I remember just telling his Sal before the start of the show, dude, do your thing. You won, just like I did my thing with the Jets with the unkillable thing. Do your thing. Get the Cohen robe, get the ridiculous scepter and the hat, and all the other stuff and all the other trinkets and bells and whistles that you're going to throw on. All right, have fun. You got them. We didn't. But once that all ended and we got to the reality of the situation, I always thought that the contract was going to be a horrendous one. Now, the difference is that Cohen's sheer wealth and affluence allows him to absorb anything if he wants, right? And at that point, what Soto just did with Judge, what he just did against the Guardians, the bomb he hit in the World Series down to right, like, nobody wanted to hear it, but here we are, suddenly getting further away from that World Series appearance and that great dynamic duo with Soto and Judge. Yankees aren't perfect, and the Yankees have some of their own issues, obviously. Yankees aren't in a bad spot like the Mets. Yankees are not faced with these type of decisions. Like eventually Stanton's contract is going to run out, and as long as Max Fried is okay with the elbow, what I think he's going to be, and Judge is still 85% of what he's been, there's not a contract that you look at where you're like, oh my God, this is going to be a burden on the Yankees to move forward and build things out. Whereas the Yankees, to be clear, the Yankees' burden would be different than the Mets' burden. The Yankees' burden would be, Hal just doesn't have Cohen's money. So the burden would be either the unwillingness, but also, and this gets lost, kind of the inability to absorb massive contracts with buyouts and just spend more. Like they don't make, they're like, I said this like a couple of months ago, this came up when the Forbes valuations came out of the now the Yankees franchise is worth an incredible amount of money, but just the sheer net worth of Hal, it's like 21st or 22nd amongst his peers, owners in baseball. So, and obviously Cohen is top three. The Dodgers, the Rogers group up there in Toronto, and of course Cohen top three. So I don't know, man. I do know that he's got to be miserable, man. He's got to be miserable because when you make it to I don't know what's in his heart, and I'm trying to be fair. You can't tell me that his decision was truly made on baseball. You can't tell me that because you were just in the World Series and just had a relationship, a baseball relationship, a dynamic that you will never have with the Mets, ever. Because Lindor and Bichette and whomever else comes up where they get ain't going to be Judge a couple of years ago. Like, that's once a generation stuff. That's how good they were. That's, Ruth and Gehrig, really. That's Mantle and Berra. Like, that's just crazy stuff. So there's no way he could be enjoying this because he's a competitor. And I know that there's been so much discourse. Is he happy? I can't read the guy's mind. So I don't really try. But the only thing that I will do, because it's part of my responsibility, is to give you an opinion if I think that he chose the Mets because he really thought the Mets were the healthier situation. And I didn't think that that was the case then, but nobody wanted to hear it. And it would have seemed petty on my part to lean on that because the Mets won the sweepstakes. And you had to lay out as a Yankee fan. You had to acknowledge, tip of the cap, you got him. We all wanted him to come back to the Bronx. But now here we are in 2026, almost midway through. And I got to be honest with you. It's big picture. It's a win for the Yankees. Now, if Soto's on the team now, is Max Fried here? Is Bellinger? I don't know. I don't know the answer. There's just too many rabbit holes to go down to try to guess where the Yankees would be. But God almighty, the Mets are they're an atrocity. They're back to being the Mets. They're back to being the Mets. And, I don't care how delusional or how much of a fan you are, you can't refute that statement. The Mets are back to being the Mets. And what does it mean to be the Mets historically? Now, I don't mean like when they were first born in 62, an expansion roster. Generally, when like the LOL Mets or they're back to being the Mets or they're Metting, whatever phrase you want to use, it's basically you expect one thing and you get the exact opposite. Players you brought in underachieve, whether it's Bonilla or, all that. I need to do a whole Met history lesson here. But that Vince Coleman, Saberhagen, that's what it means. To think you're going to be one thing and for it to be a colossal implosion, and it's the exact opposite. And I don't know how anybody denies that. I don't know how anybody points to anything tangible right now and says the Mets will break out of it. The Mets will be fine. It's delusion, Phil. Who the hell thinks that? I don't know. God, thank God. Thank God I didn't choose to be a Mets fan. Really? Jay, I don't think I could take it.
My gosh.
It would have broken me. I would have been, I really think I would have been, I put quotes around this, like it's not a bad thing, but I would have been worse than Beningo.
Really?
I really think I would be the most negative, angry, voice out there of anybody, because I know how I get. It's
how you are with the Jets.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep. But think about it, yes. But a lot of that's been laced with, and some people think I'm sometimes too easy or too optimistic with the Jets, and that's kind of my point. I might be. I'll own that too, like at least when the season's starting. I don't mean when you're looking at a 1-6 train wreck and it's time to smash everybody. Like I'll do that as well. I love doing that. Like even though I hate it, I do enjoy it. I'll be honest, it's cathartic. I've always said that. Sure. But like the Yankee success, and I've got my own frustrations with the Yankees over the years. You guys know that. But the Yankee winning, not that it's softened me, but it's shaped my fan DNA a certain way where, like, if I'm walking around miserable, then I think you're just walking around miserable to walk around miserably. I don't, I think, and I think if I was Jets, Mets, I don't think I would be a pragmatist at all. I think I would be an unhinged, miserable, loud, despondent, constant voice. I really think that would be me. I do.
I mean, man, that would be a brutal lineup right there. That would be years of pain.
Yeah. Oh, imagine that, especially before this renaissance with the Knicks. Imagine.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
You know who does?
Oh,
Bada Booms.
What is Bada Booms?
He's a Jets, Mets, and a Knicks fan.
He is a Jets, Mets, Knicks guy.
Yes, dude. So, because I was watching him and he literally, I was watching him react to the Knicks thing. Dude, this kid was in genuine shock, genuine human, shock. Like
was he doing his own stuff or was it with Sal?
No, it was with Sal. It was just it was their little, thing.
How do you think you stack up with Bada Booms here, Jay?
Okay, listen. What does that mean? What kind of question is that? I can't.
I'm just asking a question.
In what context?
He has his role. You have your role. How do you think you stack? You better answer this the right way, buddy. Take a backseat to nobody. I like.
No, I think. Listen, I think I'm better. I think I'm better. Obviously, I think I'm better. Obviously, that's it. There's your answer.
That's what you got to say.
I'm better. Obviously.
I don't have to. You want to underline it? Okay, there you go.
No. But much love to the guy. I mean, listen, what I will give him, I mean, I think I'd have to talk NBA with him. Dude, like this, I think he has something special because he is such a devout New York sports fan and to the bad teams, especially that he is a Jets and Mets fan. And I think he has something special because he was a WFAN listener.
Yes,
which is for someone my age, not that it's unheard of, but certainly some buddies I know have watched or people I met, but I think that really gives him the kind of pop in his personality that he's really got.
Think about that. Yeah, he's got a good personality. He's funny, man.
And he likes my tweet. He's one of the only dude who gives me a like on Twitter. So,
he's jumped in on some of my stuff too. Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know if Sal told him not to. No, I'm just kidding. He's involved in some of that stuff. He seems like an interesting guy.
Wait, I told you this too. We grew up in the town over from each other.
Yeah, and you guys present yourselves so differently.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it couldn't be any more different, bro. But I have a feeling if we hung out, we'd probably be pretty similar.
I would think that Bada Booms is a pretty hard partier. Don't you get that vibe?
Oh, I don't know, dude.
Really?
Honestly, I've gotten the vibe.
Really?
I think he he certainly, does, he certainly does the things we all do. But I don't know. He hit me as a guy like him and his boys, like maybe he's going out, maybe he's going out to the bars out there. I don't know. But like I feel like him and his boys are just crushing the brews, like kind of deal.
I
don't know if
agree.
he's going to the club or
I
like
didn't
the
mean
dive
that.
bar.
I did not mean that. No, I meant the beers. Like to me, Bada, and this is not a bad thing. Bada Booms to me seems like the kind of guy. Did he go away to college? Did he? I don't know. I don't even know his education.
I think he's a Connecticut college dude, or like one of the schools out there. I'm gonna have to look.
If he went to Connecticut College and he's sharp as a tack, that's an outstanding academic school.
No, I mean a Connecticut college, not Connecticut. No, I know that's
okay, gotcha. So, but either way, no matter where he went, right? I could see Booms being the kind of guy where, you know, you have a wild frat party or you have a crazy night, you know, on campus party, off campus apartment, right? And like you wake up to get a bottle of water and, you know, whatever time it is that you wake up, and Bada Booms is face down on the floor or on the couch, half dressed. You know, like that's what I see.
Dude.
And by the way, that is not a bad way to go through college.
Dude, not at all. That's a great way.
Well, and hopefully you outgrow it. You know, hopefully you certainly outgrow it there. But that's what I don't know. I could be totally off base with that.
I think you're on base. My favorite moment, dude, was that pic of him in the airport, bro.
Oh, dude,
that was awesome.
That was funny.
Like, because I was just like, dude, like what sets him apart from him and me? Yeah. Like, I don't think this kid is very self-conscious. Like, I don't think he's an insecure dude at all. Like,
that's
me, it's an amazing thing. Like me, dude, I would never have the guts or just like the confidence in myself to just go out in public, rocking the tank top, just being fully me. Like, dude, like I do not have that.
Yeah, that you're talking about when they went down to Florida, right? To go to the Mets camp, I think it was. And he was
wearing a Jets tank top, dude.
But it was like a cut off sleeveless shirt, not a tank top. And you saw the movie Major League, right? With Charlie Sheen. Have you seen that?
Oof. I know. I've been watching clips recently.
All right, we got some more homework for J-Rod. We got another movie he's got to see there. But when he's basically he gets arrested and Charlie Sheen is in the precinct, I guess. And he's wearing like the cutoff shirt, like, you know, that bottom, that's kind of the, like that's what I saw. I think he was wearing boots too. Yeah. I think, it was such a funny look there. My God, it was absolutely priceless. That was hysterical. At PG-17_89. In all seriousness, no, the Mets are only 7.5 out of the wild card because of how bad all the teams are this year. They still have a legitimate chance. All right. It's invalidated with the word legitimate. If you want to tell me they still have a chance based on the circumstances, but you also do parse it, thankfully, with some reality, I think they'll go 71-91, but they could go in. Well, I mean, which one is it, dude? You're contradicting you. In all seriousness, they're only 7.5 out. All right, that speaks to the optimistic angle, which I can respect. I don't agree with it. 7.5 out of the wild card, not 7.5 out of the NL East. They're like 15 there. All right, it speaks to how bad all the teams are. That's factually incorrect. If they were in the American League, that would make much more sense. The NL is miles better, at least record-wise, and probably overall, definitely overall, than the American League. So that's another X there. And, you know, like back to reality, I think they'll win 71 times, but they could get in. You're confused. I do understand that. I get it. I mean, let me just give you a little dose of reality here. I would do this with Sal for both the Yanks and the Mets, and both the Jets and the Giants. Do some checkpoints. All right, so I'm looking at it now. Right now, the Yankees are projected to win 94.3 games. They're a 53.2% to win the division. They're a 98.9 postseason probability, meaning wild card. All right, and right now they're 2.5 out. But ironically, like the Yankees had gone, I believe, all season where they hadn't won and the Rays lost. And I believe it's happened 2 or 3 games in a row. So they've kind of at least 2, maybe 3. And we get to see Cole tonight here, which is going to be very nice. All right. So that's number one. Let's get to the Mets, though. We're talking about the Mets. So the Mets, 15 games out in the NL East here. They have a negative 31 run differential, which has to be no, San Francisco's minus 53. The Rockies are minus 74, but you don't compare yourself to the Rockies, or at least you shouldn't. All right, so run differential, awful. The Mets projected win total, 72.2. They are literally, and this is what I always laugh at this. They are given a 0.0% chance to win the division, which to me is statistically idiotic. Now, they're not going to. Even if you give the little less than sign, less than 0.001%, what if the Mets were to win 16 straight games? I mean, it's not, I'm sure the Braves wouldn't lose 16, but you'd cut it in pretty significantly. And then who the hell knows what happens the rest of the way? So that's ridiculous. The Mets, this is pathetic. And this number, I think, is right. The Mets are given a measly, paltry, barely visible, minuscule 2.1% chance to make the playoffs. With that payroll and all that shit that all those Met fans have been talking forever, that is right now, at least right now, your statistical reality. 2.1% chance. Wow. And listen, I know that last chat was somewhat based in the reality, somewhat. Here's the problem. They've got to jump over, my God. They can basically jump over everybody. They got to jump over the Reds, who they're playing. They've got to jump over the Pirates, who are better than we thought. They got to jump over the Cubs. I don't know what the hell's going on with the Cubs. Down, up, down. They lost 10 straight. They got to jump over the Nats, who are over 500. You got to jump over the Phillies, which they won't. Phillies started horrendously. Manager got fired. They've been stabilized here. They won 6 of 10. They won 2 straight, whatever. You got to jump over Miami, who just beat you. And you scored 4 runs or 3 runs, whatever it was, the whole series. And then you have the Mets. And then luckily, you have the Giants, who you're tied with. And then really luckily, you've got Colorado, who's dead last. 10 and a half out of the wild card. I mean, it is slightly past Memorial Day. And look at where we are with the Mets. Wow. My God. Fook your couch. Let Soto go out there and swing for the fences. At least the home run's entertaining. I mean, he plays, he hits. He doesn't, they don't. But even that. Okay, you want to tell me you're on you're a fan of a bad team and your guy's going for the all-time home run record? Or like Pete's still here and it's a couple of years down the road and the Mets are awful, just saying if they were, and he's going for 500 home runs. All right, you pack the stadium, you watch, you want to be a part of history, you love Pete. I mean, I know you guys love Soto. I mean, I think you still do, but who the hell is going to tune into the Mets just to watch Juan Soto potentially hit a home run? I mean, he missed 15 games with the calf. He missed a couple of games with the illness there. I mean, I don't even think he's going to hit 40, As he has been very hot, lately. So maybe he's going to somehow get to 40, but my goodness. And I'll tell you, there's been a lot of, I know that Francesa weighed in on this. I know that at least it seemed like Gary Cohen and those guys were clowning Mike. Gary's like, oh, Mike still works. I think it was Gary who said that. Yeah, he's got a podcast and he's only the greatest, along with Mad Dog, greatest host in the history of sports radio. I thought that was an unnecessary shot. But I also understand the mindset of the Mets booth right now is one that is morbid, and they are disgusted because they got to sit there, even though they get paid well, sit there and tell you what they're watching, which is about as bad a baseball as you could possibly watch. So I get it if the Mets booth is a little ornery these days, but I don't know that they need to take a shot at Mike. That sounded a little personal. Although Keith had his back. Keith did at the end of the clip. Keith's like, yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. And Mike weighed in on this ridiculous home run celebration. Guys, you got to read the room. I had not even weighed in on this, but you got to read the freaking room. Number one, the construction hat and the stupid, neon jacket is just, it's dumb. I mean, and I'm all for celebrations and even the kids, they've got home run chains. I got no problem with the swag. I really don't. Whether it's the Blue Jays putting on that jacket or the Red Sox shoving the guy down the dugout in a grocery cart, whatever, or Seattle with the Aquaman pitchfork, whatever the hell that thing is called, whatever is emblematic of your city. Okay, fine. That's cool. But when you are, not even when you're this bad, it's one thing because you still have to try to have a season. When you're losing, and this is happening all the time now, you're getting a meaningless home run. You're down 7-2, you're down 6-0, you're down 8-1. Just abandon it. Like, to me, if I'm Carlos Mendoza, I would actually put my foot down. And if anybody doesn't like it, that's tough shit. That's what I would tell you guys. And it doesn't seem like it's his personality. and I know it's easier for me to say this here, but like when you're not backing up bases and you're losing every night, you're not scoring, you're not hitting, you look awful. I would say in my way, I would go bonkers, but in his way, he's got every right to say, guys, come on, listen, man. Until we get our act together, let's calm it down. Then you could even lie. Even I believe we're going to get it together. I believe we're going to start winning some games here. I believe in you guys. Okay, you could say that, but then you got to say, guys, the optics look awful. I mean, when we're losing and it's late in the game and we're down, like when a grand slam event doesn't even get us within a run or two, let's just abandon, the gadgets. You know what I mean? The robe. The costumes, the Halloween gear. It just looks stupid. Like, it really does. Like, I haven't even commented on this because it's just it's almost beyond commenting on, because I really don't know how anybody can have a thought counter to what I just said. Baseball is boring at times. It's an arduous, long haul. See, I get it. Have a little fun. Have a little fun in the hotel bar. Like, right now, you just look like a bunch of clowns is what you look like. Yep, let's get the construction. Pretty soon you're going to have somebody like the dude with the airplanes. All right, bring it this way. Let's go. And he's going to be walking down the dugout based on the direction that his teammate did with those little neon flare things, whatever they are, like the flashlights. All right, go this way, Juan. All right, let's go. Oh. Guys, it's just sad, man. It really is. And listen, and I'm going to, you might not hear this part because, you're going to hear what you want to hear. And it's going to be clipped in a way that's going to be clipped in whatever. I don't say this to the really good Met fans, right? The balanced Met fans, the Met fans who get it, I'm talking about the infantile Met fans. Those who took such pleasure in, getting Soto, thinking, here we go. Where you going? You're going backwards. And, taking those little shots. Yankees this, Yankees that. Look in the mirror. Look at your team. Look at your team. Thankfully, your owner's not tweeting right now because it seems like every time he tweets something, it's stupid. So he's laying out. So at least I think he's still laying out. He's gotten the message. So at least and he has spent money. So, and I think Cohen's a good guy. General manager, who I know you all hate. So that's something that everybody shares in common with the Mets. Hey, it's a good job by Stearns, huh? Luis Robert, when are you going to see him again? Never. Never. He's on the 60-day IL with a back injury, whatever the hell he's got. How's Polanco doing? I don't know. Hasn't played in 2 months, whatever it's been, a month and a half. Hey, how's Sean Manaea looking? Nice $16 million, 2-year, $32 million total extension. How's he doing? Hey, he's basically mop up, relief, start. Well, I don't even know what he is. What's the other dude? Why am I forget his name that they signed? I was at the Yankees for a minute. Jeez, he's not even pitching. How's Peterson look? When he's pitching, horrible. And when he's doing the other aspects of his job, he's not doing them, like backing up a base again. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, and I would say that this is reserved for a very small percentage of the Met fans. And I'm not petty. I would say maybe 10% of you deserve this. You deserve it. Because you got ahead of yourself. You got in front of your skis. And, I've done it before with the Jets. And let's face it, I'm going to include myself here. I'm not trying to make it too personal. But generally, fans of teams that don't know how to win generally do things like some of you were doing. Even some of the Knicks fans out there, the bing bong and the stupid reactions. I don't mean like during the playoffs. I mean a couple of years ago, opening night against the Celtics. I mean, Knicks for clicks. Everybody just opening up the phones, acting like a bunch of dopes, Comport yourself. You don't know how to act because they never won. And, it is a little comeuppance, as Mad Dog might say. He might say that. Well, if he tried to say comeuppance, he'd probably say it wrong. But some version of his word, comeuppance. Comeuppance is upon you. It is upon you. How does it feel? And I've always tried to separate, not always successfully. I've always tried to separate Yankees and the Mets. And it was an easy separation because the Yankees were good and the Mets were not. That's changed a little bit the last year or two. It just did. Changed for a lot of reasons, you know? It just changed for a lot of reasons. And right now, as much as everybody was screaming about the Yankees, can't hit, I'm not going to overreact to, banging in 15 runs and 37 hits apparently almost, against the Royals. It's the Royals. Okay. Starting to win a little bit, starting to play a little bit better. Yankees have some problems. Hopefully they get addressed. Who would you rather be right now? Who would you rather be? Would you rather be tonight flipping on Yes and watching the great Michael Kay and his crew, my buddy, talk about Garrett Cole getting back on the bump, who, by the way, was pretty good in the first time he was on the mound after the injury, or last night watching Cam Deal and everybody go bonkers, or would you rather flip on SNY and watch the great Gary Cohen and that great team, and they are a great broadcast team, and watch the Mets AAA lineup? Pretty easy choice to me, So quite different worlds right now with the Yanks and the Mets there, J-Rod. Doesn't it seem that?
Oh, that is fucking brutal. Oh, my God. Well, no, because one thing that's just got me dead, bro, is I keep getting ads for this Mark Vientos youth baseball camp on my Instagram, like that he's doing this summer. And this one comment on it just kills me. This dude wrote, "Learning how to deal with failure."
Now it's a comment. Where is it? Pop it up.
No, it's just here. It is. It's Mark Vientos baseball camp, and then this dude commented on it, learning how to deal with failure. And it just keeps popping up on my Instagram, and every time I just crack up. I'm just like, man. That is cold.
Oh man. Well, I mean, listen, we had a conversation about Vientos with Instagram a while back, right?
Yeah.
Listen, he's got a camp for the kids.
No, you got to respect that.
I definitely do. And by the way, Jazz Chisholm, I saw something that Jazz has a camp as well.
Yeah.
Right?
I think a lot of players definitely do that stuff.
Yeah, I know Judge has done it. I know Volpe's done it. No, it's fairly common, right? And listen, if I was
Jazz Chisholm had a challenge an ABS straight down the middle.
It's funny. I wouldn't even think that's a good call. I wouldn't even think about the ABS, but Jazz Chisholm, school of how to stare into space on the bases. I mean, come on, man, how to swing for the moon like a skinny Babe Ruth.
Mark Vientos how to swing on a pitch you got hit by.
Yeah, just hit off a tee. Spare yourself the money,
Oh, my God.
What is this? Another one, especially for the Met fans. There's nothing we can say to defend their organization compared to the Yankees. It's true. That's true. It's absolutely true. It's the bottom line. At the end of the day, the Yankees are still New York. The only time I rooted against them was the World Series against the Mets. I don't understand the back and forth between Mets and Yankee fans. Now, that's obviously a mature fan. I do. And I think that it's very easy to understand the root of the disconnect. And this is not me this is the reality of it, honestly. And I get it as a Jet fan toward the Giants, although I'm never petty with the Giants. Although some of my takes on Eli was never nearly as great as some people thought, whatever. But I've never been jealous of the Giants. I wish I was a Giants fan many times. Not jealous, not petty. The difference is this is just the answer. The Met fan has always been jealous of the Yankees. Period. End of conversation. That's it. Especially if you never saw the 86 World Series. Now, there are a lot of people, and I'll just use Evan, who did not see the 86 World Series, who was not like that. And I'm not even talking about people on the air. I'm talking about just the mass, the mass amount of Met fans. And I get it. If you're, 30, 40, 50, whatever it might be, and 96, 98, 99, 2000, by the way, Subway Series, and then 09, and A-Rod, and Jeter, and Mo, and O'Neill, and Birdie, and Posada, and Clemens, and Pettit, and David Wells, and Coney, and Tino. I mean, everywhere you look, there's a million names. Joe Torre, my God, Judge, of course. It's hard not to. I understand that. I really do think, if I was a Met fan, I actually think that I would have more of that. I think I might have more of that pettiness than not. And really, but it would depend how old. Like at this age, probably at this age, depends. I do think a lot of this was born with some of the arrogance of the young Yankee fans that were a lot younger than me, that didn't go through lean years, that didn't enjoy the 70s, which I didn't, and then didn't see a World Series until 96.
Yo, the
Hold
Jets
on.
trade. Jets made a trade.
Who made a trade?
Jets.
The Jets made a trade?
Jets made a trade.
All right. Now, wait, I like to do this. I would do this with Hop as well. Is it big? Is this just a little,
I don't think so. No. I would imagine no.
All right. Is it for, it's got to be for a defensive player.
It's for a pick.
It's for a pick.
It's for a conditional 7th round pick per sources.
Okay. Who'd they trade with?
Irv Charles to the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. All right. Irv Charles to Seattle. Okay. There you go. And when are we going to get something big, man?
Honestly, it has been funny that within the duration of the show, we've yet to see like a big New York sports trade or anything like that go down yet. Which obviously we've still got the NBA offseason coming up. We've still got MLB trade deadline that has to come, and the brunt of the NFL offseason. So obviously things will change.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That's quite honestly, probably not worthy of breaking in on there, but hey, listen. Sorry. I'm kidding. You get the siren, you get excited, right? Here it is. Somebody just popped that up. Zach, Jets are trading wide receiver Irv Charles, conditional 7th round pick. All right, is that where you saw it, or were you doing your due diligence? Or
all right, I saw that.
Now looking this from the chat.
I saw that, and then I went to Twitter.
You went to confirm it.
Attaboy.
All right, so at least you're doing your job there. I mean, what are we talking about here? Jazz's camp kids learn how to roll the blunt. Come on now. What are we saying there? Come on. There's no evidence to that. What is this guy? This guy's been hopping in a lot. Yeah. From Mets fan, nothing to defend the organization compared to the Yankees. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's really fired in a lot. Do we have to, what is this here? I don't understand. Do we have to uppercase certain words? Does it change anything? What is he talking about? Because I do that. So sometimes, do you know on X?
It just might be like maybe just a response to how people write. I don't really know.
Well, I noticed how fairly recently, where there's a somewhat new feature on X where you can bold and italicize things if you're a premium subscriber, which I love doing.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah. I am a bit of a bolder and an italicizer. I am.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I do. I like to. I probably do a little bit too much. I don't know if he's.
I like the italics when you break them out on Twitter.
I like the italics. Yes, I do too. That gives it. It's like it classes it up a little bit.
Definitely.
Italics. You got a couple of quotes here and there. I do like that.
Always gives it.
And the other thing that you can do with that, and I hate when this happens, like. I am a stickler, even though, listen, at times I'm going to make mistakes, but just my educational background, like I am a stickler for whether it's syntax or like improper, God, I can't tell you how I cringe. Like, hey, we're going to go over there, THEIR. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Instead of like their bike or their bowl or, hey, come over here, HEAR or.
Oh, God.
This one's a little tougher.
I'll say.
Yeah.
Since using GPT more regularly, my spelling has 100% gotten worse.
Worse.
1,000 million% gotten worse. I think I'm just like, I think because now
you're lazy.
Yeah, not lazy, but just like you're used to, and I don't have GPT write the YouTube descriptions or anything like that. That's just straight up lazy. But like when when you have GPT maybe write a little something out. I'll do that. It's kind of conditioned me to be less vigilant when I'm typing or writing. I think.
Okay.
I'm like, I'll slip on a there, or like instead of like the THEY apostrophe
possessive there,
they kind of mess it up like a little bit right there, and I'm just, or I'll like yesterday, like my verbiage in one of the titles, I switched it around. It was like reliving the worst moments of the 2000s, like or no,
Okay.
of the Knicks of the 2000s. And I was like,
Okay.
dude, that just does not roll off the tongue.
I hear you.
It could be reliving the worst moments of the 2000s Knicks. So just like
Yes.
little like clean up syntax things. I feel
Yes.
like GPT
drives
has
me
like
nuts.
kind of made me forget.
That is a pet peeve of mine. That drives me absolutely insane. Like it's like the only thing I'm good at, like spelling.
Yeah.
And like that. I've always said that came naturally to me. I don't know why. That's why I find it fascinating. People who are great in math or whatever they might be great at.
Right.
How much are you born with? How much is learned behavior and what's around? I mean, I'm sure it's a little bit of everything for sure, but I don't know. Like, how are some? I don't know the answer. I did read a lot when I was young, but it was primarily sports stuff.
Yeah.
Like generally, they say boys like to read. This is a massive generalization, but like to read less than young girls. I'm not talking about adults on the beach, but
Yeah.
your nightly routine, by the nightstand, whatever you might read. Boys generally read less. I was always reading, but I was reading things that I wanted to read. Like I remember putting off like in high school, whether it was like Catcher in the Rye or Old Man in the Sea or Moby Dick or Othello or Macbeth, like all these things. I'm like, fuck, I gotta read. School's starting. I haven't read anything yet.
I did not
cramming it, like half reading it, to be honest with you.
Did you like Catcher in the Rye? That's one of the that's one of the books, dude, for some reason. And the character and the story and everything should resonate with me.
Yes.
Literally everything. Like,
oh my God.
I love the character. Something about it, and I think it was just because I had to read it for school. It really did not connect when I read it that first time. But I've gotten a little bit back into reading as I've gotten older. So like I probably want to try that one again. Like,
that was Holden Caulfield, right?
Yep. Holden Caulfield.
And the amazing thing about the author, J.D. Salinger, right? I'm sure he passed away. Had to pass away a long time ago. I would imagine. Sure, he was a real recluse. He was like one of these people. He didn't want to interact with society at all. I feel like he lived up in New England, like New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire guy, born in Manhattan. He lived. He was like 90, 91. So he lived for
what year did he pass away in?
2010.
Dude, a little more recent than I thought.
Yeah, dude. If I don't know if you caught me, I literally was like, he probably died in like the 1940s or something.
1940s,
so, dude. I don't know when Catcher in the Rye came out. My mind is skewed, dude. So yesterday I was going on a huge, like, I'm just on a baseball fucking twirl right now, dude.
Nice, man.
I'm digging deep, bro. Yesterday I watched like another hour doc on Suzuki. Man, that guy was electric.
Was that was that the one on MLB Network?
It was it was on a YouTube channel called Secret Base. I don't know if you've seen their videos. Their videos are awesome, dude.
Okay.
Like they do like pretty long breakdowns of players' careers, or I watch like one on like the 2004 ALCS.
Yeah.
And
that was on a more main. That was on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but this channel did a little just video on like the leading up to David Ortiz's home run in Game 4. But what I didn't realize, like, I just had such a skewed perception of what New York and what America like looked like over the past like 100, 200 years. Like I thought in the 1840s we were still on the farmland in New York.
No, not Manhattan. No,
I legitimately thought that New York was still like a little farm in the 1800s. Yeah. And then I saw pictures and I was like, they had like a subway, they had a train, they had all this. Like, never mind.
What you did have is you had a lot of the fruit stands, a lot of the immigrants in the streets selling fruit. That's why when you see like cobblestone pavement, unless it's by design, really new. Many of those are landmarks. I've always been. It's funny you say that, because there are pictures of where I'm from in Brooklyn where, and I don't mean in the 1870s either, like 1920s, 30s, whatever it might be, where it was like there was no stores. Like it kind of did resemble a little bit of farmland. Now, obviously, and I'm sure Queens and I know Long Island was developed much later than that. With the Bell Parkway and some of the roads out there, like the Merritt. No, the Merritt's Connecticut. Pardon me. But I think that I always am fascinated with that stuff. I don't know why. I always try to imagine myself like man, like if I was, walking the streets in like 1870, would I have had the ability to invest in a building? Well, would I have had the means is really the better question. And then if I did have the means, would I have had the foresight, the wisdom to do it? Because think about that. I mean, so many of these properties now, again, it's all relative because $10,000 in 1840 is equivalent to whatever the hell it is now. So you got to make sure you have $10,000 to buy whatever I'm talking about. But man, it's just it's got to be harder to do it now. I mean, it has to be.
To buy like to get property,
to do anything.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure back then there were probably way more stories of like dudes completely changing their wealth around quickly.
Yes.
Like whereas like, I don't know, this guy started just like, he started working for the old factory and he got a quick promotion to manager. He's a real tough worker. Like something, I don't know. Or he came up with a tonic. It cures something. And then you
by the way, hold on. I got the wow. All right. So $10,000 in 1850. What do you think it's worth today?
200 G's.
That's actually I would have said millions, man. $426,948.72. Okay. The average inflation rate between 1850 and today, so encompassing all the highs and all the lows, 2.16 per year, which produces a cumulative price increase of 4,169%, which equates to $426,000. Wow. That's crazy, man. How much would $1 million be? Stuff, I love this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fun.
Well, it's the same thing. See, this is why I'm an idiot. All you got to do is add zeros, you moron. I'm talking about myself. It's 42.69 million. If it was 400, this is what I mean about math. How do you not make that connection right away? If $10,000 is worth 426,000, what do 100,000, idiot? Do $1 million? Do $1 trillion? It's like, come on. Certain things I am just lost on.
No, I mean, I'm glad I'm with you there. Like math was like, I failed statistics twice in college, bro.
Oh, yeah.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Like
honestly, dude, I respect you being honest about that because
that's like a stain on that's the biggest stain on my life thus far. That was like
that's a pretty good life so far. Whoa. If that's the biggest stain on your young life, that's a pretty good life so far.
Yeah. Exactly. It is not a big stain, but dude, I remember at the time I literally cried, bro. I literally cried when I saw that because I was just like, dude, like you.
I didn't cry at all, man. I couldn't.
I was like, you are an actual imbecile.
You know what we used to do? So in college. And really, the only reason I cared, and my dad's watching this, and he does watch a lot of the shows. He's probably sitting there saying, he ain't lying. God, it would get him so mad. So you got to be eligible to play Division I baseball or anything where you can't just have a 0.8 grand play. There's scholarship impacts, there's eligibility. Like you got to do a certain standard, 2.0. So you would see, like in the spring, I would get like I would just do horrendously. And then in the fall, I would jack it up. And, I'm not saying I was always low threes, but a couple of times threes to balance it out. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a dubby here. I just didn't have any interest. And we would go, and you've heard me reference Matt, Trev, Vinny. I don't mention Vinny as much. Vinny was one of them. All the guys that I lived with, all the guys that I played with, like my core group of friends, right? That were idiots. There were a couple of good friends who were actually smart. That was the kids who just wanted to play Sega, right, and practice and play. We would get progress reports, and to go into this when we still lived on campus, to go to the big cafeteria. It was a beautiful one at Marist. You go to the mailbox, and like back then, going to the mailbox was like, all right, did Dad send me cash? Even though he'd send cash back then, he'd clip out newspaper articles of the Knicks and the Yankees and the Bible. So cool. Yeah, man. Also, he'd send me like hats and like cool. The best, right? But I really needed the money, and then he'd write a letter, and I loved it. And so I'd always go and look for that. But I knew early in the spring semester, halfway through, you get basically a progress report. And for whatever reason, they wouldn't mail that home. Thank God, dude. We would all get. This is what we would do. We'd go just to get to the cafeteria. Was our actual mailboxes? We'd get it out. We'd look at it. Hey, Matty, what'd you get? He wouldn't even have a 1. I mean, he was by far the worst. He's like, 0.0%, whatever the decimal is, 0.7. I don't know, less than 1. Not bad. All right, what'd you get, B-man? 1-1. We'd just take it. We'd rip it up. We'd throw it in the garbage. We'd go eat.
Oh, that's awesome. That's sick,
right. And the only time that I failed the course in college, and how about this irony? This is amazing.
What is it?
Public speaking.
Oh, what?
Does that tell you all you need to know about my academic career?
Yeah, I mean, that's
you need to know.
crazy, but that's also like a great story. That's like Jordan getting cut from his high school basketball team. It's like you're kind of meant to do the thing that they tell you you're not able to do.
And I'm going to tell you why I failed. Then we're going to wrap it up. It's funny enough, I think, to share. So I decided to go to Marist late. I didn't know where I wanted to go.
Okay.
So by the time I decided to go there, and I was obviously young, so I had to be on campus. All the on-campus dorms were taken, right? So they put me along with Dan, another baseball player who's coming from JUCO, one of my best friends. Married, they don't have it anymore. They used to have apartments.
Oh, okay.
About 7 or 8 miles from campus. And you want to talk about? I mean, dude, you want to talk about a rough in a good way, but also not in a good way of starting your days at Marist. I'm 7 miles, and I'm not allowed to have a car because it's my first year there. Right?
Yeah. What do you?
They had campus issued vans.
Okay.
That would at the center area. Right. Now, by the way, not everybody at these apartments was students. There were some people. I mean,
just
it
like
was
regular people.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And it was kind of dangerous part of town. And a lot of the guys on the baseball team lived out there, upperclassmen. One guy from Brooklyn, my boy Jay, who's a couple of years older. So I'm day one, I'm already entrenched off-campus parties. Problem one, right? Right away. Problem two is I've got public speaking. I think it was at 8:30. And
in the morning?
Yeah. And if I didn't, it was early.
If you're 7 miles from campus, what are you gonna do?
If I was 7 seconds from campus, I wasn't going to that. And oh God Almighty! And if you missed, now my buddy Dan, who was older, coming from JUCO, was allowed to have a car, so we went everywhere. But he didn't have He didn't have an early class. So I'm like, all right, I either get up early after doing Lord knows what, and even if I'm just hanging out playing video games, I just don't want to get up and go to class.
Yeah.
And so I would always miss the van. So
okay.
I never went, and I missed it like I think I missed it like 23 out of 30 times. It was ridiculous.
Oh
bro.
yeah, okay.
Meanwhile, like the 6 or 7 times that I did go, I loved getting up in front of the room and actually being an orator. I couldn't wait. I loved it. Like something about sports? I can promise you that. Maybe there was something about something else that you got assigned, whether it's not so much politics, but maybe a finance thing or whatever, some sort of current events thing that I also. And I failed it. And, and the guy loved me too. He's like, you never, and he knew I played ball. He's like, you never showed up. I have to fail you. I'm like, I get it. So then in college, I'm sure you could do this in Syracuse too. If you fail, you can drop it and then take it again. And it gets expunged from your final records, I guess. Not that I ever checked, not that I really cared. I did graduate, but I did know that it was able, because I had to, because then I had to be eligible. So I had to find a way to drop it, and then I had to actually go. And then I went to one at night instead.
Okay. See, that's better.
Then I had a card. It was a little bit easier. 24 out of 30 times I just didn't go.
That is just crazy. But
don't do that, kids.
Yeah, no.
Do it and become a professional speaker.
There you go. and skip public speaking.
All right, what else we got? That's about any message you want to get up before I bounce here?
Let's see.
As you're looking, I want to remind everybody, hey, Friday, 11:30, my buddy Alan Hahn, going to be great. 10:30, I'm sorry. Going to be absolutely great. I've met him in 2005, know him really well. So it's going to, of course, we're going to talk Knicks and stuff, but good conversation with a good guy. I'm looking forward. Alan is a good dude and a great talent. So I'm looking forward to that. That's just a heads up. 10:30 on Friday. I thought you had one up there. Did you take it down or no? Right.
This is just a little funny. This is a little funny.
Every show should end with a long story short segment sponsored by Long Island Iced Tea or something like that. Yeah, we're working. We got our irons and a few other business elements here that are not yet. Although I do know that we're going to do something amazingly cool with EA Sports.
Oh, really?
You don't even know the depth of this. No.
Well, listen. When you let me know, let me know. I had a banger idea. I'll mention this real quick.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of like or seen videos where people I'm sure your son does this.
Go ahead.
Rebuilds a team in MLB The Show.
Read what? No.
So there's a mode in it where you can play as the general manager.
I think my son does. Yeah, I
you
think he's
make
done
the
that.
trades and stuff. Dude, technologically, I don't know how we'd figure it out. Dude,
Yeah.
I think that would be the sickest video for you to do ever, bro.
Really?
Like if it was you kind of at the helm of the Yankees GM, and like the moves you would make, seeing how they work out over like a 2 or 3 years.
I bet you I'd be better at some things than Cashman.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have 5 automatic outs. Although Grisham's starting to hit and Volpe's hitting, but I wouldn't go in every season with a lack of offense. That's
last night, like that kind of game that never happened. I mean, it's never happened in Yankee history, but that never happens where every starter gets 2 hits, right? That like never happens.
I only know about Yankee history. I can't speak to the entire sport.
Okay.
I know they said that last night. I did see. I heard them say that during the telecast. That's crazy. By the way, speaking of the show, maybe my son hasn't even done that. What he does do, it's funny. He got drafted by the Mets. So you can get drafted as a young player.
That's the mode I do. That's what I play.
So you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And you could obviously make yourself look. So he's got it number 23, the eye black, the arm sleeves, the wristbands, all the shit, the sunglasses, you know, the way you wear your stirrups. It's just incredible. And you go through and actually you get a call and they do like, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 20, it depends on the year, Major League Baseball draft. And then your phone rings.
Yep.
And like, hey, this is the general manager of the Mets. You've been drafted. I'm like, this is insane.
It's a cool game because a lot of other sports games don't go into the level of detail that the show does with each of the moments really making it feel like, come on now. When I got picked 18th to the Reds, let's go.
18th overall?
Yes, sir. Come on now.
Did you make it to the bigs?
Not yet. We're still in AAA. My batting my batting average every night I've got like a different issue. Like some nights I'm swinging too much on the
you play every night?
Dude, I play. Oh, dude, I started on Friday.
Oh, you just started.
This weekend, I went to bed at least 5 a.m. every single day, bro.
My God Almighty!
No, last night it's not. I feel horrible. Last night I went to bed at 10:30. I had to stop it. I literally had to nip it in the bud. And I came home and my roommate was like, yo, Jared, do you want to play a game? And I was like, dude, just not tonight. I can't. Because I know, dude, once I stop,
I get that.
You cannot stop.
I have been there. You know, I know, even though it's so long ago and the games are not nearly what they are now. I mean, geez, if I could have created myself as a player.
Oh my gosh.
I would have never gone to that public speak. I would have gotten anywhere. I wouldn't have left the apartment.
It's tough because you hear the announcers and they're going, Jared Rowland.
Oh,
and then you hear, and then, dude, but then you also hear the coach and he's going, Jared. And you're like, oh,
what'd you miss a little sign here? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, hey, take a strike. Let's go.
It's just so like, I think just the way that they do that, it just makes you really just like, it makes you feel important in it. It's weird.
Dude.
It's weird. It's weird.
I know. Well, it's not weird because it's really not. I mean, there's a connection with technology that hits the brain on a level that I can't possibly quantify, but I can tell you that it's real.
Yeah.
Because even though in hindsight, now back then they didn't look antiquated. We're like, these graphics are sick, right? It's all relative. But like when we played NBA Live and we played Tiger Woods golf and we play a buck a hole, whatever it might be. And then obviously we'd run through seasons. I was always the Knicks, always Patrick, right? And as soon as we'd wake up, we'd say, all right, our expression in our apartment was set it up. Like that's the first thing we set it up, set it up. We wouldn't even say good morning. What's up, Trev? What's up? Set it up. And we're playing right away. And we would be playing. We would never play till, I mean, that's ridiculous. 5 a.m.
Dude, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Those are get in the way of producing the show, buddy. I guess I don't care.
It's literally exactly why I did not do it last night. I was like, bro, I'm not about to come on tomorrow like groggy as hell, just being like, oh, like,
yeah.
Literally, this is like a weekend endeavor for me. Like, I have got to nip this in the bud, bro.
Well, I mean, if it's raining out and you're not married, no kids, I mean, what else are you gonna do?
In those moments, it's okay.
Yeah.
But for me, dude, on a Friday night, dude, on a Saturday night, even if it's disgusting and raining out, you can't be doing that. You can't be playing the games. You can't.
Well, no wonder why you haven't gotten to your third date yet, or let alone a second date. You know,
yeah, come on. I got a date with the big leagues. I got a date with the majors.
Well, hey, listen, when they call you with the Reds, right? Maybe when the Reds call you up, you will now be a professional athlete, and maybe now, you know, you'll have more access.
Start letting them know. I'll go, hey, I'm batting third.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. All right, Jay. Good stuff today, buddy. I will catch you tomorrow. I'll catch everybody tomorrow. Obviously, we'll start ramping the Knicks stuff back up. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate the chats. Get some likes going there. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Alan Hahn on Friday at 10:30 live. And still working on Alex. Like, he's just busy. You know, I'm going with his cousin Nick, who's a great dude. And Alex basically said, hey, Nick's got my schedule. Just go with Nick. And Nick was texting me this morning. So we're going back and forth. He's going to be on. I just don't know if it's this week. And I really want to get him on. I want to talk shop with Al. I want to talk basketball. You know, as the T-Wolves owner, I want to talk about obviously the Yankees and all the other stuff here. So it's going to happen hopefully this week, but obviously very soon. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have an outstanding Wednesday. Catch you tomorrow at 10. Bye-bye.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.